What's up, good people? It's your man Jay Free. As we continue to dive in and talk about the issues that are currently surrounding us, again, I'm always asked the question, why does it matter? I believe that we are at war. You know, people always talk about, they say the revolution will not be televised. And I stand on that statement, but I also believe that the revolution has been going on for many years already. We just unaware. We are literally in the middle of a war without understanding the conflict nor the rules of engagement. This is a psychological warfare that we are dealing with, and therefore the weapons of our warfare must be psychological. Um, what we're dealing with is the manipulation of the mass mind of the people, and therefore our weapon to fight against the tools that are being used against us is our evolution of consciousness. And so, as they have lied to us, as they have manipulated and convinced us of their truths and his story, as we say about history, it's his story. As we've been convinced and as we've been tricked and as we've been taught the things from them and their perspective, so now they've developed our perspective. And in order for us to overcome and to be able to win this fight that we are going against, we must have an evolution of consciousness. I've said before and I'll continue to say, the illusion is that the system's design was to disenfranchise us. And so therefore we believe that the system was set that we might be poor and broke. And that is not the intention of the system. The intention of the system is to keep us disconnected. When you understand all of the nuances and all of the different, levels of what's actually going on around us, and when you really dig in and research and not just take things on the surface or not take what you've been taught or what you've been told from someone else, but when you really begin to dig in, dive in, and you begin to make truth that which you seek for, and that's the only ruling power is truth, that I want truth so I can be set free. Remember, the truth will make you free. We talked about it before. Truth carries a responsibility and an obligation. It says that you will know the truth and the truth will make you free. Well, what is it that the truth is setting me free from? The truth is setting me free from the bondage of the lie. And so as we begin the process to wake up from the bondage of the lie, that is exactly what is happening, is our separation from what we've been taught. So we got to wake up, people. We must begin to elevate our minds. We must begin to think on a different level. That's why we talk about outside the box. We have to rid ourselves of the ideals that we've been taught. Like I say, we, especially as people, as a people of color, and I use the term just loosely, so y'all understand what we talking about. We know we black folk, whatever, and black is not a word. I'm like Kendrick, you know what I'm saying? I ain't black no more. That's just a word, you know what I'm saying? We must understand that our plight is not disenfranchisement. The plight or struggle that we face is not being poor and broke. That's what the system of capitalism was designed to do. It's designed to capitalize. You understand what I'm saying? One person owns, another people work, and they capitalize on us. We earn money as a tool to use for survival, when really money was unnecessary for survival. It still is unnecessary for survival. We believe that I have to make money because we've succumbed and become accustomed to the system in which we reside. And so we say that we're fighting against the system, and we say that we're looking to come out of bondage, and we believe that that bondage is being poor. So now we put all our energy, effort, and resources into trying to earn money on an independent individual or on a collective basis. And that is not the foundation of our issue. Our issue is we have been robbed. We've been robbed and stripped of our identity. We've been robbed and stripped of our land, and we've been robbed and stripped of our birthright. These are the things that we have to get back to. And it's not, it is them controlling the general population. Let's just dig in for a little bit. I don't want to just continue to always talk from my mind. I want to give a little bit of information that we can go from. President John F. Kennedy 7 days before he was murdered, he made a statement. He said that there was a plot in the country to enslave every man, woman, and child. Now this was from JFK, and this is what he said was that he intends to expose the plot. Now he made that statement, and then he was killed 7 days later. Again, when we talk about our government and the system, for those that want to follow, what you've been taught about how he was assassinated by a rogue. Come on, this 2017 information is available now that you can research. You can see the directions in which the shots came. You can see actual footage of the shooting. You can tell that there was more than one shooter. You can also tell, for one, I mean, we dealing with our government. So ultimately, nobody in our government dies unless they want them to die. Abraham Lincoln died because they wanted him to die. You understand what I'm saying? Ronald Reagan, his suicide was an attempt because that was all it was intended to be. If they wanted him dead, they'd have killed him. It was only an attempted suicide because what happened is now he regained popularity with the public because he survived a failed suicide attempt. So we have to understand how our government works. Now understand that was JFK. Now government, the word itself is derived from a Latin word, and the word simply means to control the mind. So when we talk about our government, we have to understand the root and meaning of the word itself. The word itself means to control our mind. Now, I've shared with y'all before talking about Dr. Edward L. Bernays. And, I put this stuff up on the screen so you can see it for yourself. Now, out of his book, Propaganda, in 1928, he talked about that manipulating the masses is a reality. It's not a conspiracy. And he went into detail and he began to break down some things. And he said that in every aspect of our daily lives, it don't matter what it is, in every area, in every realm of your everyday lives, that we are being conditioned and controlled by a group of people that we never even heard of. So when I use the terms they, I'm talking about this they. I'm talking about the unseen group that sits at the top that really pulls the strings. Now, people for years been trying to say it's conspiracy theory. Y'all talk about Illuminati, Freemasons, so on and so forth. But this is what I'm talking about. We have to understand that these things are real. And we have to begin to dig in and do research and find out the truth about it, because this is the area. Like I say, we are at a psychological warfare, and being at a psychological warfare, remember, they control what we think. And so if you control what a man thinks, you control the direction in which a man goes. And so again, manipulating the masses, people, is not a conspiracy. It is a reality. But we have to begin to understand, this is what JFK was talking about when he said that there's a plot to enslave every man, and woman, and child, and I'm going to expose this plot. And then they killed the man. This is why the term of our government means to control the mind. And so what happened to us as a people is that they took away our physical shackles and they gave us mental shackles. See what I'm saying? Just because they told us that we were free, we took what they said and we became blind. And so now we free from shackles, but we are no longer free. So now we don't even think on our own, and what we think is not true, so we can't even really see. Notice, I hate to use scripture, but it is truth when it's true. Notice where it talks about where there is no knowledge, the people perish, or for lack of vision, people perish. And so when you can't see and understand what's going on, then you being led blindly like sheep to the slaughter. And so another example for us would be, for those that understand and know, the greatest time for us in this country before they came, since the time that they came and took, killed off the indigenous, our greatest time was during the Reformation. You understand what I'm saying? When slavery first ended, and they took the shackles off of us. We were doctors, lawyers. We were politicians. We were building our own communities. We were establishing ourselves. And this is when they came in with the process of This is when the black codes was induced. This is when they invited all of the foreigners from all the other lands, Ireland and so on and so forth, told them to send over all of they lowly people to come over here, and then they created unions and so on and so forth. The information goes deep, but I just want to show you. But during that time, this is when Black Wall Street in Oklahoma was established, and other neighborhoods, Rosewood and so on and so forth, and they came through and destroyed us through the Klan, the birth of a nation, fueled the Klan, and so on and so forth. And this is the process where they begin to kick us out, or when they begin to, this is when they begin to disenfranchise us, so to say. But the disenfranchisement was not necessarily the money. The disenfranchisement was separating us from the land. And so they were coming through and wiping out whole communities. As we were establishing communities, they were running us out of our communities because they were taking away our land. They were taking away our property. They were taking away that which was of most value. You see what I'm saying? They created the system of capitalism. They created the system where a piece of paper that is really valueless becomes value. The real commodity or the real value is the individual yourself. You become the commodity. You make $15 an hour to go do a job at a company where they make millions of dollars off of your labor. So therefore, the paper that you're getting is not commensurate to the amount of work that you're doing. So you're really a slave without understanding. The illusion of freedom has been given to you, but you're not really free, because if you don't go to the job and abide by the rules, you won't be able to pay your rent or mortgage. You won't be able to pay your car note. You won't be able to pay your gas, water, or electric. And so now you'll find yourself out on the street. So they keep you in bondage by making you feel obligated to come and perform your services for them, so that they can give you this piece of paper that you need to survive, when really the things that are necessary for survival are already freely given. Land is free, water is free, air is free, food is free. However, we've allowed them to convince us that we need to pay them for what is already freely given. And so we accept rules and laws that we never agreed to. Because the reality is, I should be able to find a plot of land that is vacant, and I should be able to build and establish, and that becomes my land if I'm able to defend my land. And this is what we talk about really being free and being peaceable. See, if you were really free, you could sit on your front yard butt naked and smoke a crack pipe if you want to. I just use that for exaggeration, but I'm just saying, if you were really free, then you would be able to do whatever it is that you chose to do. But to show you that you're not free, go set up a fence in your backyard and see, don't the HOA come and make you get, permits and zoning and all of these different things. Go let your grass go too long and see how long it'll be before, you get a letter about your grass being out of whack. Do something or say something that goes against the standard of society, and watch how quick the police don't come knock on your door talking about we got a warrant for your arrest. Do something out of line and see, don't the police come knock on your door and say, hey, we got to come get your children. Now, you think I'm exaggerating, but it happens around the country every day. Or more importantly, drive down the street and just happen to run into a cop that decides today is the day he wants to earn the stripe, and you become the next nigga on the hit list that we read about in the paper that gets murdered. So see, we have an illusion of freedom, but we really are blind to what's really going on. And so, through our birth certificate, through our social security number, and so on and so forth, they've created a fake identity, what we refer to as a straw man. You can look these things up, dig into them, and search for yourself. And so what happens is, from the point and moment that we're born, you are given an identity. And then you spend the rest of your life trying to fight that identity. This is why I say about how we assume that we've become disenfranchised. And so the identity that they gave you, or that they gave us, is that you are black, you are poor, you come from slaves, you are nothing, you can be nothing, you can do nothing. So we try to prove them wrong by trying to accomplish within their standard, within society's set standards and norms. So what we end up doing is I go to job, I go to school, I go to college, I get a good degree, I get a good job, you know what I'm saying? And now I drive this kind of car, and I live in this kind of house, and I wear these kind of clothes, and I've got this kind of money in my bank account. You understand what I'm saying? And in the process of these things, we feel we kind of miss what's really going on out here. Carter G. Woodson made a statement. When you control a man's thinking, you don't even have to worry about his actions. Just think about that for a minute. When you control a man's thinking, you do not even have to worry about his actions. He will find his proper place and will stay in it. Do you understand? That's called training, if you understand what he's saying. You take your dog and you tell your dog to sit, and when he sits, you give him a treat. And you pat him on the head and say, good boy, good boy, good boy. And so he say, okay, if I sit, I get a treat and I get a pat on the head. But now when he take a crap in the house, you whoop him and put him in the kennel. Now he say, So you are training him. You understand what I'm saying? You are conditioning his mind to understand how he should operate within your home. So now through the process of breaking and training, now when you say sit, he sits and wags his tail because he's waiting on the treat. When you say roll over, he roll over and wags his tail because he's waiting on the treat. When he has to use the bathroom, he won't use it on your floor no more. Now he'll go to the door and scratch at the door, or he'll make a whimper noise, or he'll come tap your hand with his nose, whatever sign that your dog uses to let you know that I need to go outside to use the bathroom. But why? Because he no longer wants to get that whooping and get put in the kennel. You understand what I'm saying? Now, this is the same analogy that Carter G. Woodson just put on us. If you control a man's thinking, you don't have to worry about his actions. He'll find his proper place and will stay in it. Just like a dog. You don't need to send him to the back door. He'll go without being told. In fact, if there is no back door, he will protest until one is made for his use. His education demands it. Now understand what he's talking about with these details. He's talking about us. This is the book, Miseducation of a Negro. Now, I just gave the analogy of the dog's training, and this is the exact same thing. We've been conditioned over a matter of time to know what will get us a treat and what will get us whooped and put in the kennel. And because we've been conditioned, like he said, we'll stay in our place. And because we've been conditioned and we know the order in which we're supposed to go, you understand what I'm saying? He say we don't even got to be sent to the back door. You see what I'm saying? We will fight. And we will fight until it's one created for us, because your conditioning or training, the manipulation demands it. So what you saying, Cone? You talking crazy? Nah. I just gave the analogy of the dog. Now understand something. I'll give you another example. Right now, the top athlete, and I'm just put this out there, you can take it how you want. The top athletes in all of the major sports that I know of are black. The top athletes in basketball are black. The top athletes in football are black. Some of the top athletes in baseball mostly are black, because even though you deal with a lot of Hispanics, Cubans, and so on and so forth, when we understand the root of the cause, because they're melanated, we are family. And so what I'm hitting on is, now look at this. We at one point in time, they would not have allowed us to enter in even through the back door. Notice what he said. We are demand. He said we are fight. We are demand until one is made for us. In other words, we want to fit in with you and sit at the master's table so bad that we will take whatever treatment. You know, understand what I'm saying? Until you allow us in. You know what I mean? And so while we were establishing our own, we wanted to be in there so bad that we done crapped on our own. So now Negro Baseball League, for example, Everybody wanted to play in the major leagues so bad that now we no longer have a color baseball league. We never had a Negro football league, don't have a Negro basketball league, but yet we allow owners like the Clippers, Donald Sterling or whatever his name is, to make racist comments about us. And all we do is we say, oh, we want to get him banned. And nah, bruh. Every single owner of every single team has the same sentiment and regard that this man does. This is what I'm saying. We convinced in our mind that, you know, we don't understand what the system of racism is, the thought process of privilege over infidel. So we don't really understand. So we see when a white person accepts us in, we think that they really like us and that they cool with us. And there's always exceptions to the story, but we dealing with the overall. When you talking about these super rich team owners, man, they don't care nothing about you. But again, Carter G. Woodson just hit on it. We a fight to get in the back door. It don't matter. We fighting to get in. You know what I'm saying? Our education demands it. In other words, now I want to go to Alabama, even though Alabama would not have allowed me to go to their school. But now I want to go to Alabama instead of going to Grambling. You see what I'm saying? I don't want to go to Grambling no more. I don't want to go to Jackson State. You see what I'm saying? I want to go to LSU and you know, because we still look to their standard as being the standard. So if your son say, I'm going to play football, and you say, who you going to play for? And he say, I'm playing for Alcorn. You look at him like, oh, that's a small school. But if he say, oh, I'm going to play for Alabama, you be like, ooh, that boy must be good. See what I'm saying? We've allowed the standard to switch when really we should have been establishing our own. But again, our training demands it. When we talk, everything I'm talking about is about how we are really entrapped within our mind without realizing it and without an understanding. The secret of freedom lies in educating people, whereas the secret of tyranny is in keeping them ignorant. So if freedom is in education and tyranny is in keeping them ignorant, now watch this. We exist in a society, a world where in years to pass, and I won't even say a long time ago, I have grandparents and older people, you know, in their 70s and 80s, some of which don't have a full, thorough education because when they were growing up as children, you know, 20s, 30s, 40s, and so on and so forth, education was not necessarily mandatory because a lot of times they had to work in order to survive. And so work would trump. And now those that had money, you know, would go and get an education and try to benefit from the, you know, the rigors of education. But notice we exist in the society now where it is illegal for you to not have an education. The parent can be arrested and the child can be reprimanded if the child does not go to school at least until the age of 16. You must go and at least get that fundamental education up to the age of 16. But now understand the process of how the mind works. By the time that you're 16, you're already fully developed and capable to know which direction that you're going to go. And so they force us to stay in education system until the age of 16 because why? If educating is freedom and tyranny is keeping ignorant, then why they force education on us? Because it's not real education. They're not really teaching us out here. You see what I'm saying? Our education system is really, it's not, I don't even know what word to put on it because we should understand. Now, this was important to me because it's graduation season. And I attended a graduation on yesterday. And I'm just listening to, you know, kids giving reference to Martin Luther King Jr. and giving reference to the future and all of the things that it holds. And all because I see how I see. All I could see was the continual brainwash manipulation that's being perpetuated down on us as a society and that we are falling in line. True education, and I'm going to say this, true education is to teach you how to learn. Knowledge is ever increasing and ever growing. It's ever expanding. So if I were really educating you, I would only be able to teach you principle or foundational principles in whatever subject. I would teach you foundational principles, and then the process would be to teach you creative thinking, to teach you how to exegete the text, how to, you know, go above and beyond what lies on the surface. If I were really educating you, the master can only teach the student but so much, but once he gives the student the foundational principles, now the student can take and grow and expand the level of knowledge in which he has received. This is how knowledge is supposed to be passed down. This is how it was done through the ancients, through the ancestors, and so on and so forth. But our education system, it takes and groups us all in one box, and it makes us all follow after the same thing. As you can see in the picture, we are all different individuals. Some of us are carpenters. Some of us are philosophers. Some of us are lawyers and doctors. Some of us are electricians. You understand what I'm saying? Some of us are fishermen, and some of us are cosmetologists. I don't, you know, however, we're all in the same educational system, and we're taught all to learn the same thing in the same function in the same format. So just like the picture states, you know what I'm saying? If you're going to judge a fish by his ability to climb a tree, then guess what? He's going to fail. And this is where we sit at in our system. Why? Because our system is really never designed to actually, like I say, it's not about really educating us. It's really to teach us to fall in line. Our school system is designed as a school to prison pipeline. What happens is, in this society we live in, because we are all slaves and we are all being used to their manipulation, all school does is to prepare and mark. Notice they keep a record of, like I say, from the birth certificate and social security number from birth, and then they keep a record on you, a file on you for the entirety of your life throughout school. They tell you when you in, you know, they tell you in the 5th grade that your file, if you get in trouble, that this gonna remain in your file, you know, till you graduate. So what I did at 9 in the 5th grade is gonna still be on my file at 17 when I'm in high school. Why is that? Because what they're doing is they're tracking and they are monitoring your ability to fall into line and to follow order instruction. They're monitoring whether or not you are going to be productive in their society, meaning whether or not you are going to just fall in line and obey, meaning just go to school, get up, go to work, do your work for them, come back home, give your money back to them at their stores, go to work. You know, they want to know, or are you going to be, or are you rebellious? See, we look at rebellion in a bad way, but oftentimes when a child is rebelling at school, that's just because the way the system is designed. It's not meant for them, especially our black males. You know what I'm saying? And so they're monitoring and they're saying, oh, he don't follow instructions. He's strong-willed. You know what I'm saying? He has a strong will, a strong spirit. He doesn't follow instructions. He doesn't like to get in line. He doesn't work well in the group with others. You know what I'm saying? So they monitor that. And the school system is actually designed to pick and prod. So they're either running you to the left where you a troubled child and they know that we gonna mark him, he gonna end up in the penitentiary, or you're running to the right where you fall in line to the structure that they set before you, and they say, oh, okay, he's going to be a good productive member of society, so we'll let him go to the right. This is the process of our education system. What does it really teach children at school? It teaches us that the truth comes from authority. Right now, as I talk, I'm speaking, I'm putting up pictures, but I've got tons of evidence and information to support what I'm saying. But because I'm nobody, I'm questioned. If a person with authority or someone that you respect gets up and says the same exact thing that I'm saying, then people will pay attention. They'll go do a little research. You know what I'm saying? They might say, oh, you know, he said it might make a little more sense. But because I'm nobody, see, this is what we're taught. We're taught that truth comes from authority. In other words, you know, when the kid comes home and say, you know, red and blue make green, and you be like, red and blue make green? How red and blue make green? Red and blue make purple. You know, and they say, no, my teacher said. What the teacher says trumps with truth. We're trained from early that the teacher is right. Am I lying? Because right now we know the truth about, for example, Christopher Columbus in Africa. You can watch the Hidden Colors video and you can see truths that we've been lied to in our school books. But I guarantee you that they still teaching the same story of Christopher Columbus in 1492. I bet you they still teaching about the Pinta, the Mayflower, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. You know, I can't remember them all because that's how long ago I've been out of school. But I guarantee you that they're still teaching this same story. Just like now they've added into our textbooks the 9/11 World Trade Center bombing. That's a part of your history school book now, and that's a complete farce and a lie. But again, we're dealing with his story, and because it's taught from the teacher, quote unquote, who we're told is the authority, you know what I'm saying, we accept truth as it's been given, and then they force it on us because they give us tests and they make us pass. You gotta, every school system has tests that you gotta pass. See what I'm saying? That's why I'm gonna just, truth comes from authority. They also teach us that intelligence is the ability to remember and repeat. Now remember what I just said. True knowledge or true education is learning how to think, critical thinking. That means being able to dig in deeper than what just sits on the surface. But that's not what they teach. They teach us that intelligent is being able to remember and repeat. So we giving school lessons, again, where they want us to learn about Christopher Columbus and the World Trade Center and so on and so forth. They teach us the way they want us to learn. And then they make sure through repetition to continue to reinforce this knowledge into our psyche. So not only are we getting this through education, but we also getting it through media. We getting it through society. So you go to school and you get taught this way. You come home, your parents were taught the same way. So they continue to perpetuate the same ideologies and the same functioning forms. And then society is the exact same. So you can turn on TV, you can go to a family member, a friend, you know, just anywhere, and everybody has the same ideology, an idea about life and school and education. Even right now to this point, I was a psychology student and I could have my degree by now, but I dropped out last year. Why you drop out, man? You need to, I don't need accreditation from, they literally were making me dumb. And they were literally making me dumb because they were trying to do what I'm telling you. Because I have an open mind and because I see clearly, I know what I know. Remember, I have education already. So I already have education in the religious field where I've studied psychology and so on and so forth. So I have the education. I just was trying to get accredited on their side because I don't choose to use my church credentials any longer. I'm not a preacher. I don't represent the church. So I was going into school to try to learn. They literally try to force their opinion. And I won't say literally, they do. You either accept what they're teaching or you're wrong. And I'll give you an example. We were having a discussion with my professor in regards to, like I say, this is psychology, dealing with the effects of the environment on childhood development. Now, I'm dealing with doctors, should I say, you know, professors. I'm dealing with professors that they're basing their opinion off of what they call scientific study, which is observation. So they're looking at analysis numbers and they're looking at observations from other people's reports, where someone may have wrote a report of an observation and they're studying these things and they are literally basing their opinions and their points on, in my opinion, they basing their facts on opinions, because we dealing with people that have had no experience in the environments in which they are addressing. Now here I am, straight from the gutter uttermost, from nowhere, with all of the life experiences that I've had and the things that I've seen firsthand. And now mind you, I've already been a minister. So I've already been, for years, I've already counseled people and talked with people in regards to issues, as well as my own personal. I work in the prison system, in the juvenile system, mentoring and talking with our troubled youth, teens, and as well as adults. And so I have experience already before I come into this class. I'm just using the class. So when the teacher or professor begin to try to tell me that I'm wrong with what I know to be fact, and she basing her opinion, she's basing what she tells me is fact on an opinion, and I'm telling her what she's calling my opinion. I'm telling her it's fact because I've seen it firsthand. I've experienced it myself. This is why I had to drop out. This is what I'm talking about their school system. The ability to remember and repeat. Not for me to learn, not for me to be able to have experience that I can grow from, where the teacher would be able to say, that's an interesting point, Mr. Cone. Let me look and see what's going on. Help me to understand your perspective. I could have helped the teacher to gain some insight and some knowledge concerning development when you coming up in the rough neighborhood. I could have helped her to understand and gain some insight. But because she was so adamant on making sure that the entirety of the class understood her perspective. Now, mind you, her perspective was that it's hereditary, that it comes, you're born. I'm telling you, underline what they was trying to say. I'm just going to say it frankly. Underline what they trying to say is poor people in poor environments, they care. The reason their environment is poor is because they were born that way. It's a part of their hereditary. So in other words, what she's saying is us colored folk, we ignorant. It's in our genes, it's in our blood, and this is why we in the condition that we're in. So it's not that our environment or our condition have been placed on us. It's the fact that because we are there, we created our environment and our condition. And I had to, and like I say, by me coming from that, that is not true at all. The system has created our environment. The system has created our condition, and we are results of that environment and of that condition. To every cause is an effect. Again, as I say, if you put crabs in a barrel, then crabs are going to act like crabs in a barrel. And they kill me with that analogy all the time, as I say, y'all like crabs in a barrel. Brethren, the barrel is not the crab's natural habitat. So you can't use a comparison of crabs in a barrel. Exactly. We're going to act like crabs in a barrel. Do you understand what I'm saying? You know what crabs in a barrel are? If you pick crabs up from freedom and drop them in a barrel, of course they're going to fight and claw and scratch looking for freedom. It's the same as us. They throw us in a barrel and say, look at them killing each other, selling drugs and blah. We're just trying to survive in the system that y'all created. This is why this is so important, what I'm talking about, for us to understand the system and what we are really up against, so that we will stop fighting amongst each other, and that we will realize who the real enemy is. Notice education. What do we really teach? Accurate memory and repetition are rewarded. Remember what we talked about? I'm in North Carolina. They got a test called the EOG. When I was in Michigan, when I was a kid growing up, we had a test called the MEAP, the MEEP. Michigan Educational Assistance Program, I can't remember the exact name, but it's the same. And every state has these reprimanded tests that students must take in order to complete the grade level to go on to the next layer. Now notice, my child can go to school every day of the year, and they can get great grades in school, and they can do all of that. But if they fail their EOG, then they fail school. Why? Why? Because they're not teaching the kids to learn. They're teaching the kids to make sure that they can memorize and repeat what they've been taught. That's all they're doing. Can they be in compliance? Can they follow orders? Will they walk in a single file line to go to lunch? Will they raise their hand to ask a question? Like I said before, it's just like training your dog. You say sit. When he sits, you give him a treat and pat him on the head and say, good boy. And this is where we are. As long as we are in order and we comply with that which has been placed on us, then you get a pat on the head and a treat. Good boy, good boy. But when you go against that, which they try to force down you, now you become non-compliant. So now, if you're a student in the class, and we've all witnessed and seen it, this is what I'm saying, we pay attention. So now if you're in the class and the teacher start teaching about Christopher Columbus 1492, and you get up and say no, and you pull out some other information and say, well, I got information that shows that we were the indigenous to Americas and not the Indian that y'all tell us, and I got proof about, if your child gets up and gives some of this other information that's out here, the teacher will make him get out of class. I've seen it. It happened here in North Carolina. The teacher will make him get out of class, and then they will write him a referral and send him to the office. Why? Because for one, they want the other students to see that if you don't agree with what I'm teaching you, you're wrong. You're going to get in trouble. Secondly, they have to separate that child from the rest of the people so he don't become a Nat Turner and begin to blend in for those that are saying, hey, man, what you talking about? Where you learn that on? And then they have to notice he's getting a whooping and put in the kennel so that he can be trained and taught. Don't come in here with that information. You need to follow suit with the information that we're teaching you. You see what I'm saying? Non-compliance is punished. Again, whooped and put in the kennel. So what are we taught? What is our education system teaching us? It's teaching us that we either conform collectively, intellectually, and socially, or you get set up and put out to the side. You understand what I'm saying? And this is the truth of our education system. And so as a result of our education system, like I say, we taught compliance. And so now here we out here trying to work. We trying to earn money, through education. But again, like I say, that's in my opinion, that's called slavery. If everything that you're doing, you think is necessary for survival, that's slavery, man. You see what I'm saying? But the problem is, as I'm continuing to trying to put out, we under the impression that we are free. We believe that we are free when we're not, because we've been taught to conform, and because we've been taught to follow suit, and we've been taught through their system. So what we deem as right, what we deem as good and acceptable, what we deem as the standard or level that I'm trying to reach to, have all been placed down to us by their system. And so what happens is because we think that we're free, you know what I'm saying, and not realizing that the inner man, the soul man, is what's being held captive. This is why I say it's not disenfranchisement, it's disconnection, because the spirit man, the inner man, the soul, who is really alive, you know how when a person dies and you can see their body. Have you ever noticed the difference for those that have seen people die? Unfortunately for me, I've seen it firsthand due to my life. There's a significant difference between a person, the second that life leaves a person. If you've ever seen it, there's a distinct difference between life and the moment that the spirit leaves a person. You can see the distinct difference. What am I hitting on? The soul never dies. Energy can never cease to exist. Only this physical fleshly body that we inhabit will cease to exist. And that is the place where they hinder us. They have us focused on our physical existence in this fleshly being, when the soul is the one that's crying out. That's the one that's being held captive. So now we are like puppets or like robots. You understand what I'm saying? Like I said before, we are literally like puppets on a string being controlled. You see what I'm saying? And so we go to and from here and there without even really understanding why we do it. We think that's what I'm supposed to be doing. We think that is the key to life, and that this is fulfilling to me, but it's not. It's not. And so now we become our own overseers, because we're on the free plantation, the illusion of freedom plantation. We don't need overseer per se, because now every individual becomes an overseer. See what I'm saying? You got the person right now, as I speak what I speak and talk about what I talk about, everybody calls me crazy. Oh, Jeff, man, you off the hook, man. You crazy. What is you thinking? What is you talking about? See what I'm saying? That's because y'all have been sent to be the overseer, because you don't realize the bondage that you in, instead of waking up your mind and starting to pay attention to some of the things that I talk about. See, like I say, you ain't free just because you got a job, a house, and a car. That don't make you no more free, no more than if I put you in the refrigerator, you turn into a gallon of milk. If you in the refrigerator, you don't become a gallon of milk, bruh. You just a fool crammed in the refrigerator. You know what I'm saying? Being in the garage, doesn't make you a car. You understand what I'm saying? So just because they tell you that you're free doesn't mean that you're free. If you can't, if I always get the analogy, let me get this back. The penitentiary is the stripping away of your freedom. But now, the way the penitentiary works, if you got enough connections and money, you can live a life inside the penitentiary that is very close to the life you live outside the penitentiary. In other words, you can be inside of them four walls of them bars, and you can have enough money. You can have guards that take care of you. You can have a TV. You can sneak in your cell phone. You can sneak in and have your internet access. People do it all the time. You can sneak. You can even have a guard, a female guard that you screwing every night. So you can have booty. You know what I'm saying? You can have all of the appearing, luxuries of the free world. However, with all of them luxuries, you still are not free. You are still in the penitentiary. Now, what necessarily are you missing in the sense though? If I got TV, food, water, clothes, I got somebody to sleep with to satisfy that. I got people to, it seems like, hey, I ain't missing out on nothing, bro. I'm balling. So where we exist today is that same thing. We are literally in a figurative penitentiary. And because a few of us have privilege and access, you know what I'm saying? We look at the rest of us and say, man, y'all need to just go and quit crying, bro. You need to go and do what I did so you can come over here and enjoy these luxuries that I'm enjoying. And that's not the truth. I don't understand how y'all do it. There's no way possible that I can ever enjoy any amount of freedom as long as I am in bondage. As long as I know that I am in the penitentiary, I cannot enjoy my freedom. The TV don't look as clear. The prison guard, that's the only option I had. I need to be free, so I got more options to choose from. Again, like I say, actual freedom is being able to do what I want, when I want, how I want. So even though you enjoy freedoms in the penitentiary, I guarantee you they still got a time where they hit the buzzer and you still got to stand and come do count. You still got to come, there's certain rules you still have to abide by because you're in the penitentiary. So I say to us people, we got to start realizing what's really going on, man. Mental slavery. This is what we talking about, people. This is the absolute worst form of slavery. This is all I've been saying up to now. When you are trapped in your mind, you have an illusion that you are free. An illusion that you are free. And the problem is, now you begin to trust your master and you defend your master, and then you make an enemy of me. You make me your enemy because I tell you the truth. You make me your enemy because I tell you you need to stop pursuing money. You need to stop pursuing monetary gain, and you need to take them skills, them attributes, and you need to begin the process of trying to wake others up so that we can all be on one accord, so that we can all decide the day that we're going to separate and that we're going to start to establish and build our own, so that we can decide the day that we're going to make the commodity return back to me. See, in the days of ancient, I was the commodity. What you mean you was the commodity? What I mean was, me going to a job for 8, 10, 12 hours a day was not a commodity. I am the commodity, and it still is so today. For that $15 an hour you make, $120 a day, and I like to do it that way because we like to think we balling. Man, I make $15 an hour. No, you don't. You make $120 a day before Uncle Sam hit it. So you make probably $100 a day. So for that $100 a day that you making, I can promise you, depending on what company you in, they done made thousands upon thousands, if not hundreds of thousands upon what you made. Why? Because you are a slave. That little $120 a day, $20 an hour, whatever you want to say, that little bit of money, they give you that to appease you. They give you that to make you feel like you are free. They are capitalizing on you and keeping you dormant and docile at the same time. And while this is going on, Because you continuing to chase your money, you look at me and say, man, what is he talking about? What is he talking about? But again, like I say, I'm just doing my job, man. Each one reach one, teach one. Knowledge has a responsibility. I say it all the time. What good would it make for me to know how a wheel works and be able to put a wheel on a wagon so I can roll and not sharing it with nobody else? That means if we traveling, I got to wait 2 days for the rest of the people to show up because I didn't share the knowledge. But if I share the knowledge, now we all can move forward. We all can move faster. See what I'm saying? Knowledge carries with it a responsibility. Everything is not for everyone, no. But certain things are for everyone. And my job as a conscious person is not to teach you how to be conscious. My job is not to make you agree with me nor believe me. My job is simply to try to make you aware of why you do what you do without even thinking about it. When we talk about making you conscious of your unconscious behavior, we talking about making you aware of things that you would otherwise not be aware of. Remember before we talked about the truth will make you free? What is it that this truth makes me free from? See what I'm saying? That's the unknown, the unconscious area. That's why the truth makes you free. Why is it so difficult? I'm going to put this one on the screen and let y'all read it for yourself for a minute. I'm at the bottom. By evading self-analysis, people go on being robots. Remember, I just talked about that a minute ago. People go on being robots. What do you mean? When you don't ask yourself the question, why do I do that? Why did I feel that was necessary? Why? When you don't analyze yourself, then that means you just doing it out of habit. You're doing it out of form. Again, we just showed education where they condition you and they teach you repetitive. Remember, repeat, remember, repeat, remember, repeat, remember, repeat. That's unconscious programming. That develops your perspective from an unconscious point of view. You understand what I'm saying? From an unconscious point of view. True self-analysis is the greatest art of progress. We can't go forward until we begin to actually, real deal, look at the man in the mirror. And this is where many of us fail. We don't look at the man in the mirror. We don't analyze ourselves. You see what I'm saying? We don't realize where we are. Notice in the beginning of that statement, he said that we are mechanical products of the factory of our environment. Ooh, the factory of our environment. I said before, you know what a factory is? A factory operates like an assembly line where everything has a set structure and order in which it flows. And so as the line flows, if something gets out of whack, you got to hit the red button and stop the line so that you can go and fix the line and get it back in order so everything flows. So everything flows in its proper order on down the line. Well, this is what they saying our environment is, the factory of our environment. We are being trained, as I said, from birth, given an identity through our birth certificate, social security, religion, so on and so forth. We're given an identity, and then we're educated on how to take that identity to fit into their society and their form of what they teach. And we're taught how to obey and consume without question. Remember, non-compliance gets punished. So we either roll over and get a treat, or we get whooped and put in the cage. And because of this conditioning, we operate like mechanical products of our factory. You see what I'm saying? And so we get preoccupied with regular day-to-day mundane functions, and we lose sight and focus of what's really going on. We don't even understand. We don't even know who we are. We don't even know where we're going. You understand what I'm saying? And so we have become so dependent on the system. We look to the system to be, what's the word I would use? We've become so docile within the system, like I said before, that we really believe that this is true. So even though now today, as black folk, for example, we realize how much we've been lied to, and now we want to fight against the lie, but our fight is, again, like I say, we believe that we disenfranchised. So we fighting in the system, trying to establish ourselves in the system. Remember when we talked about before from the miseducation of the Negro, Carter G, a little bit ago, when we talked about how when they train properly, like we talking about the dog, when you train properly, you won't have to tell them where to go or what to do. They'll do it on their own. See what I'm saying? And so this is where we at now. While we think we fighting against the system, I'm going to show them I'm going to build this and I'm going to make this. No, you still continuing to perpetuate what they put down. There is nothing that you can establish on your own in this system. I'm going to just put it like that. There's not a permit. There's not a certification. There's not a contract. There's absolutely nothing that you can do in a legal aspect that does not go in line with the system as they designed it. Why? Because they control it all. In other words, if you do establish a business, I guarantee you have to be in their pockets. They will capitalize off your business more than you will capitalize off your business. Why? Because that's just the design of the system. So, as I said before, it's the same as like with the Negro Baseball League. You already had it. If after the Negro Baseball League played the All-Star game against the Dodgers and they won that game against the Major League All-Stars, when that team played, I can't remember the full story, but when they played against them and they decided that they were going to start letting Negroes come on over, if the Negroes would have continued on their own and continued to challenge, guess what would have happened? If a team full of Negroes continues to beat the best white players together, guess what we start to learn? We start to learn that that's not the highest level of the sport, so we're going to pay and go watch the Negroes play. Same thing, with the NBA right now. Who y'all paying to go see? Y'all paying LeBron? No, y'all ain't paying LeBron. I know he make $30 million or whatever he make. Ain't nothing compared to what the owner make. See what I'm saying? But we think we jamming. And see, we look up to these celebrities, we look up to these different people, not realizing the role that they play. I did another show on the Boule, so I won't even go into digging into the Boule and the different things going on with that. This is the problem with it. I'm letting y'all read this for a second. We in America, more than any other ethnic group, we have not only been conditioned to accept our victimization and exploitation, but unbeknownst or unknowingly to ourselves, should I say, we actually even embrace it and enjoy it. I know we don't think that we embrace and enjoy it, but we actually embracing and enjoying it. What you mean? I just explained it. As long as we continue to want to fit into that system and ask for entrance into the back door, we enjoying it. So this is the society we live in now. You see what I'm saying? Like I say, we still slaves. We just don't see it and don't understand it. Ain't nothing changed. Ain't nothing new under the sun. At one point in time, they had to put us in shackles and chains. They had to beat us. They had to whip us in order to get us to fall in line or in order for us to do what they wanted. But now, we voluntarily ignorant. We volunteering. Why? Ask yourself why. Real talk. I want you to ask yourself, why did it become okay for me to sell poison to my people as long as I'm making money? I done it myself. I done sold drugs. Everything that I'm talking about, I'm a victim of myself because I come from the same system. However, as we learn better, we must grow better and do better. So when I make the statements that I make, please don't be offended and think I'm judging nobody. I'm not. Ignorance is unknown. Like I say, I'm trying to make us aware of our unconscious behavior. I'm not knocking on nobody because everything that I'm talking about, I did, which is why I know firsthand. Experience is the teacher. As well as being a light-skinned brother, I've actually reaped the benefit of the system. I've actually been allowed entrance, should you say, into the other side. I just choose not to go in because I got too many other brothers that don't get to come in with me. You know how you show up at the club and somebody be like, hey, you can come in. No, your boys. And you like, bro, they with me. So you can either go on into the club yourself, the party look popping, you can go in, but your homies still outside. What you choose to do? I'm with the homies, man. I don't choose to go in just because I can get in. You see what I'm saying? And this is what I'm saying. But so many of us, because of our perspective, all we looking for is to get in. That's what our desire is, to get in. And because our desire is to get in, we're not paying attention to what's really going on around us. And we're not even acknowledging how many are not allowed to get in with us. How many people do you know that have college degrees that still work in the warehouse somewhere, that still work a regular job right next to you, that don't have an education? How many people do you know that have an education that work a job outside of the field in which they went to get educated? How many people do you know that have an education that are underpaid from what they should be getting paid? That's because that's not the key or the answer. These are all tools that they use to keep us in line. So at one point in time, like I say, they used to have to lock us up, and we were, they used us like we were animals in the zoo. But now we volunteering. We out here on World Star. We on Facebook Live. We on Instagram and Snapchat and YouTube Live. We everywhere now, voluntarily becoming ignorant fools to the system. Man, I had so much more to get into today. I'm going to stop it right here, man. It's your man, Jay Free. I love y'all good people. One.